sawa siddhi me prayatsa sawa kama sutta me siddham shriyam kuruhong ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tathagata vajramame munca vajrabhava mahasamaya sawa ahong pe.
Brothers and sisters, take prostration to Venerable, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yeah. Who did the practice last night? Who did the practice this morning? Many thanks to those who did it. Yeah. Thank you for purifying your mind. Thank you for creating merit. Thank you for following instructions and doing something beneficial for yourself and others. Okay. Oh, now I can hear. Okay. Okay. So, how fortunate we are to have another day of our vacation with Vajrasattva. Yeah. Or at least a half day of vacation with Vajrasattva. But you can make your whole life a vacation with Vajrasattva. It depends on what your priorities are and where you put your energy. Okay? So, you may have jobs and families and so on. If you approach these, with the right motivation, they become part of your Dharma practice. So, for example, when you first wake up in the morning, thinking today, what's most important? What's most important is not that you go to work and you do this paper and that paper and close the deal and drive your child here and see that they did their tuition homework and and become totally frazzled. That's not the most important thing that you do today, in any day. Yeah, the most important thing you do every day is not to harm somebody. Okay, so of course not to harm them physically, but also not to harm them with this, or with, well, in your case, it's your thumbs, any kind of communication. Yeah. When I was little, we had a little thing, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, that isn't true. Yeah, we used to say it so that we didn't care. But actually, words can hurt a lot, can't they? Yeah. We can, there were no mass weapons of destruction in Iraq, yeah, when the U.S. invaded years ago. But our mouth, our communication can become like weapons of mass destruction. Depending on what we say to people, how we say it, the tone of voice, the volume of our voice, the words, and especially our intention, our motivation. Yeah, and so often we don't think about the effect of our words on other people. Yeah, they just, bleh. I want to say this, bleh. And then we justify it by, I'm telling the truth. I hate your guts. Get out of here. And I'm telling the truth. I hate you. I want you to get out of here. Yeah. So you say, I'm not lying. That's not the meaning of not lying, that you tell people off and dump your anger all over them. Yeah. Nagarjuna in the Precious Garland said, for something to be true, it has to be, accurate and kind. Okay? And especially when we're angry, dumping our anger out, do you really mean what you're saying? At that moment, yes, I do, I'm mad. They're so lucky I'm not punching them in the face. But then later, when you think about what you said when you were angry, are you pleased with it? Was what you said actually true? Yeah. Who do you say the most awful, horrible things to? Strangers or people you love? People you love, isn't it? You would never say to a stranger what you say to the people you care about the most. So when you really say those awful things, do you really mean them? If you really mean them, then you probably wouldn't be there. But you really, underneath it all, care for them. So when you start accusing them of this and that and the other thing, and one fault after another, it's not really accurate. Yeah. Because I think so often, especially with family members and very close friends, when we get angry, what we're really trying to say is, I care about you and I want to feel close to you, but right now I don't. But I think underneath it, what we really want is not to harm the other person, but to feel close, but we don't know how to at that moment. What do you think? Do you think there's some truth in that? Yeah. I remember one time when a friend of mine was very late to pick. He was supposed to come up at 5 o'clock and meet me, and he didn't show up. He was driving a friend's car, and that car had a problem that sometimes the hood would fly up. Not so safe, huh? Yeah, to drive a car. It was chained down, but that isn't secure. And I had said, please get it fixed. Well, he didn't, and he was late, and he was driving on, had been driving on the highway, and he's not there at 5, he's not there at 5:30, he's not there at 6, he's not there at 6:30. And I'm quite concerned. When he finally walked in and arrived, I said, what happened? He said, I was driving on the highway and the lid flew up. I was in the fast lane. He could have been killed. Yeah. But he somehow managed to get off the highway and he wasn't in an accident. But I was mad, you know. Oh, I told you to get it fixed. Why are you driving that car when you know that it's dangerous? And couldn't you have called? But this was before the days where everybody had an attachment to their hand, you know. Nobody had their phones glued on their hand then. And he couldn't have called. I was so mad. And then after I said, blah, 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 you know, I thought, you know, what I really wanted to say was, you're a valuable human being, and I'm glad you didn't get in an accident. And I'm really glad you arrived here safely. That's what I really was feeling. But it was masked by all this anger. So, you know, we got to be careful what we say, because it can be really painful to somebody. And then afterwards, if we regret it, we see that what we said actually wasn't accurate. Yeah. If I can't remember, you know, I might have said, "You jerk, you idiot." You know, don't you know how to think logically and take care of yourself? You know, I didn't mean any of that. You know, what I really wanted to say was, I'm glad you're safe and you didn't get hurt. Okay? So when we make a decision, you know, when we first wake up in the morning, yeah, the most important thing today is not to hurt anybody. Yeah, well, I assume nobody's going to punch somebody in the face. Yeah, you know, but do you whack your kids? Do you kick the dog? Yeah, be careful of causing physical pain. Do you smash spiders? Oh, gee, look at that pretty lotus. Let's talk about something else. Yeah. Do you smash spiders? Do you smash cockroaches? Yeah. Don't they want to live? Don't they want to live as much as you want to live? Yeah. Well, it's, you know, there's a way to get around that. You get a little jar or some kind of container. The cockroach is running around. Yeah. And so instead of playing video games where you're trying to kill people on video games, you're trying to catch the cockroach. So you play catch the cockroach. Yeah. And you know, the cockroaches run fast. So when you put your container down, don't aim for where the cockroach is, because they won't be there by the time you're happy. Look at the direction they're running in and aim for ahead. Yeah. Then you catch the cockroach. You have already with you, you know, where we're staying, we have, you know, this, and we have this piece of very stiff paper, or you can use a piece of cardboard, thin piece of cardboard. You slide it under the container while you're holding the container. Yeah, then you can pick it up, and then you take it outside and put it, you know, somewhere in the bushes. Okay? And you can say some mantra on it before you free it. Put some Dharma imprint. Okay? Spiders are much easier to catch, you know. And Singapore spiders, they're not so big. Yeah? You go to India, you get spiders that are like this big. Yeah? Singapore spiders, no problem. Yeah? So you catch them the same way. You don't need to be afraid of them. Yeah, they're afraid of you. Why do you think that cockroach is running away? Because they're afraid of you. So they just want to live like everybody else. So I was telling you yesterday, this is what we tell our cats. Yeah, and how it goes in one ear and out the other, and they look at us like, yeah, pet me and give me food. Well, some of you are looking at me kind of the same way. Yeah, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Yeah, I want to hear praise. When you're telling me that to do something with those sentient beings, yeah, who in your previous life have been your mother and father and treated you with kindness, and who even this life are just trying to stay alive the same way you're trying to stay alive. Okay? So you don't need, you take them out, you liberate them somewhere else. Yeah? One of our nuns, had a little bit too much compassion for ants. Actually, this wasn't compassion. She thought it was compassion. It was actually foolishness. So she wanted to help all the ants go in one place so it would be really easy to catch them. So she put out some honey. Well, yes, all the ants went there. And there were so many ants that she couldn't catch them all. Yeah. And I think some of them made a home in, these were the kind of ants that lived in wood. So anyway, if you want to feed the ants or something, feed them outside. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so for most important thing, not to harm living beings, physically, yeah, verbally, or with our fingers on what we're, you're texting somebody. We can say really awful things in text, can't we? And then what people do on social media, how they post horrible, insulting things. Especially teenagers do this one to the other, and it's really has caused some children to commit suicide, or to do horrible physical violence back because other kids typed horrible things and posted it on social media. Yeah. So those of you who are parents, talk to your kids about this, and make sure they know that, to be considerate of other people, other children. Don't call them names. Don't post awful things, accusing them of things that are false. It's really important that you teach your children about this. Yeah. Yeah, because there's been, I've read about cases about kids being so bullied by, even not just physically bullied at school, but bullied online by what other children write about them, that they've killed themselves. I mean, it's a tragedy. Yeah. And you don't want your child involved in anything like that. Yeah? So it's important as parents to really take care of that. Yeah? And also to take care of what you write. Okay. And then, so not harm them, people physically, mentally, then all physically, verbally, and then also mentally. So to try and guard our mind against negative thoughts about other people. Because the negative verbal actions, the negative physical actions originate in the mind. without the mind having a motivation, the mouth and the thumbs don't move. Okay? Without the mind having motivation, the hand or the foot to harm somebody don't move. So to be really careful of what is going on in our mind. So the new rage in society, as we all know, is mindfulness, right? Well, secular mindfulness, what is the rage, is a little bit different than Buddhist mindfulness. Secular mindfulness, it just means relaxing or noticing what is going on in your mind. So if you're mad at somebody, it might be, I notice I'm angry. I'm mindful that I'm picking up my phone. I'm mindful that I'm typing insulting words to that person. I'm mindful that I press send. Well, that's mindfulness. You're just mindful of what you're doing. According to the Buddha, that's not good enough. Okay, because we're still harming others and we're still planting the seeds for our own future suffering when we harm others. Yeah? So Buddha's mindfulness isn't just awareness of what we're doing. It's mindfulness of our values, mindfulness of our precepts. Yeah, what are my values in life? Well, hopefully, they're not to cause harm. That's the first value, not to cause harm to others. Yeah, so if you're mindful of not to cause harm, then if an angry thought or a jealous thought or an arrogant thought or a craving thought arises in your mind, that thought does not correspond to my values. And if I act it out, chances are I could be breaking precepts. And I don't want to harm others, and I don't want to break precepts either. Yeah, because we take precepts because the precepts help us keep our value of non-harmfulness. Yeah, when you make a promise to the Buddha, it helps you, be more aware of what you're saying and doing and thinking and feeling. Okay, so it helps us prevent that. Then as soon as we become aware, there's a non-virtuous action, thought in my mind, and I'm tempted to act it out, then you have this other mental factor that is a very good friend of the mental factor mindfulness. It's called vigilance or introspective awareness. There's different translations. Theravadas sometimes call it clear knowing. Anyway, you notice what's happening in your mind and you stop it and, you say, uh-oh, the alarm goes off. Negative thought, temptation to swear at somebody and call them names, and then you restrain. So you have, the things on your cars in case somebody is trying to take your car, the sirens. So you need something. You don't need to make so much noise in your own mind. But, you need to kind of be aware and then change the thought, I don't want to harm. Yeah. And this is a small thing. This is not earth-shattering. Yeah. So, calm down. Then later, if there's something we need to talk about, I can go to the other person and discuss it. And I can discuss it calmly. And, you're going to get a much better result if you discuss something with a calm mind than if you're upset and you yell and scream and call names and insult. Yeah. Okay. So you wake up in the morning, back to what I started out. You wake up to the morning, what's most important, non-harming. Okay? Another thing that's most important, be of benefit. Okay? So sometimes we say, but I can't do what Mother Teresa does. I can't do what the Dalai Lama does. I can't do what Venerable Chen Yen, the nun who started Suchi, does. How can I benefit people? Well, these people are not in your workplace. Yeah, the Dalai Lama isn't in your family, in your workplace. Yeah, but you are. So they can't benefit those people directly, but you can. Yeah? You see somebody just needs a little bit of help, and doesn't have to be a big thing. You give them that little bit of help. Yeah? And on the street too, if you see somebody doing something, then you offer to help. Sometimes the people say, yes, please. And sometimes people say, no, I've got it, it's okay. But it still lets, even they say that, it lets them know that somebody cares about them. And that's important, And when you call the helpline or the customer service line of a store or whoever, be polite. Yeah. I had one of the Dharma students when I lived in Seattle. He worked in the customer service for, I think it was Amazon. Can you imagine, what does customer service do? Yeah, they get all the phone calls of, you sent me the wrong thing. The bill you sent me is incorrect. I want to return this. I want a complete refund. What you sent was okay, but it broke the first time I used it. Doesn't your company make anything reliable? Yeah, I ordered this, 15 years ago, and it still hasn't arrived. What's the story? That's all he heard all day is people, and none of the things were his fault, And of course, when you have a big company, there's going to be problems. And, even the machines make mistakes. Like I tell you, my computer, it does things that I don't tell it to do. Yeah? So, yeah, people are shipping things out, they grab the wrong thing or the wrong size, or they can't read your writing, or you type something in, oh, I want size 8, and you type size 7 by mistake, because the key's next to 8, and they send size 7, and then you're mad, yeah. So be polite to those people, because they are trying to help you, yeah? And they really are trying to help. I know it's frustrating, yeah? But they are trying to help. And when we say please and we say thank you, it lets them know that they, when they help us resolve the problem, then it lets them know that what they're doing is contributing to somebody's welfare, somebody else's happiness. And I think this is what all people want to know, and what all people want to do. They want to contribute kindness, or something of value to others. Yeah, and so to let them know, oh, we appreciate that. Okay, I fly a lot, not this kind of flying, unfortunately. But sometimes your flight is canceled. Yeah, and it's delayed, and sometimes you're stuck somewhere overnight. And if it's a weather thing, they don't put the airlines won't give you a hotel room. If it's a mechanical fault in the plane, they'll put you up overnight. Yeah. Or they'll get you out at least by 4 o'clock the next morning after you've slept in the airport. But, if it's weather, yeah. So it's very tempting to get so mad at the people, who are rebooking flights. Yeah, because you want to get where you're going, and other people are expecting you, and they're going to pick you up, and you're late, and you're hungry, and you're tired, and you don't want to sit in that middle seat between two people that weigh, 150 kg each. Have you ever been in the middle seat? Yeah, between people who are, actually should be booking 2 seats. I really, one time, on the flight, they said, oh, we need somebody, to change seats with somebody else, but you'll have an aisle seat. And I thought, okay, it makes somebody else more comfortable. I volunteered, yeah. So somebody else got my aisle seat. I went up, and I tried to sit down. I felt so bad for the person next to me. This person was really enormous. She couldn't fit in one seat. And I think there must have been some thyroid issue, something, because she really needed 2 seats, So I squished into, about a half of my seat. And, and went on the flight, because I couldn't go back after I had volunteered. And the plane was packed, Nobody else was going to sit there. Okay, so, there's all sorts of little ways just to be kind to people. And for those of you who are parents, this is an excellent way to train your kids, because actions speak louder than words. Yeah. My mom used to say, do what I say, not what I do. Well, I saw some things that I said to myself, I am not going to do. Yeah. I saw her do other things that I said, oh, I think that's good. I will try and copy that. But other things, But it's tempting if you're a parent. Your kid will think, okay, well, my parents lying, so it's okay if I do. My parents screaming at somebody, it's okay if I do. Yeah, kids are smart. You can say one thing, but if you don't act it out, yeah, then pretty soon they will be treating you that way. Okay, let me give you another example. Yeah, how you treat relatives, is very important, because that's how your kids will treat relatives. So in my family, we lived on one part of the country. The relatives lived in another part. So we would go back every now and then, to visit them. So we would be with them. But then when we got in the car, then all the gossip started about, my brother did this, my sister-in-law did this, and this, my sister did this, and they're talking about their own brothers and sisters, or, my mother did this, my father did this. They're talking about they were talking about my grandparents. And, gossip, family gossip, not always so nice, is it? And a lot of criticism. And this, I wondered how it started on my grandparents' level. Some of the siblings didn't speak to each other. On my parents' level, the siblings didn't speak to each other. Where did they learn that? From their parents, watching how their parents talked about their brothers and sisters. Then my generation, I thought my generation were not going to be like that. Well, we were, And in different pockets of the family, siblings don't speak to each other. Where do you learn that? From hearing how your parents talk about their brothers and sisters. Or hearing how your parents talk about their parents. You're teaching your kids how they will talk about you when you're not there. When you're there, they'll ask you for money. When you're not there, then it's another thing. I think your kids usually live with you when they go away to university, when they go to college or tertiary or poly. In the U.S., we don't live with our parents because the school's far away. So why do you go home? You go home with your laundry. To do your laundry. After all, Mom does your laundry. So that's how you went home to see them, You'd much rather be with your friends, but you have to do your laundry once in a while. Well, my parents, I had to do my own laundry. But it was good. I'm glad they made me do my own laundry. But just be aware as a parent, you're teaching your kids by everything you do. If you're forgiving, they learn to forgive. If you're generous, they learn to be generous. So just be aware of it. Okay, so most important things to do every day: not harm, be of benefit. You think of this first thing when you wake up in the morning. And then every time you should do something that happens frequently during the day to remember your motivation. Well, now you have this thing attached to your hand, that vibrates every so often. So when it vibrates, don't get excited and say, oh, I have to see who's texting me. Maybe it's the lottery that I won $1 billion. Well, chances are it's not. But just use that as a signal to, not harm, be kind, benefit. And so throughout the day, you keep reminding yourself of this. And it changes the way you live. It changes your relationships. If you practice like that, then you won't have so much negative karma that needs to be purified. Now, I'm not saying don't do less Vajrasattva practice. We still have plenty of things to purify, okay? Because we've had beginningless lives. And who knows what in the world we've done in our different lifetimes. Yeah. So as you can see, by the way I talk, I do not approve of many of dear Donnie's behaviors. Okay, yeah, you know who I'm talking about, dear Donnie. Okay, but I think, because I think what he's doing is causing a lot of suffering to the people, causing a lot of friction, being very unkind, punishing the people who have different views than he does, calling people names. Yeah. And then, sexual harassment and stuff like that. So, you see, I don't approve. My values are quite different than his. I don't know if he has values, actually. Yeah. But, like I keep saying, he means well. He means well, but he's ignorant. He's confused. Well, you know what? In previous lives, I probably did the same things. They say we've been everything in samsara. In some previous life, I was probably the head of a country, and I wanted to evict all the immigrants. I wanted to take revenge on political rivals. I called people names. I slashed the budget for people who were poor so that the poor got poorer. I slashed taxes so that my billion-dollar friends and I would get more money. I lied. In my previous life, if we've been everything and done everything, then whatever I see in him that I don't approve of, I've done in a previous life. Yeah, I've turned citizens against each other and created disharmony in a country. Yeah. Well, if I've done all of that, I need to do a lot of Vajrasattva practice now, because in that lifetime, I didn't understand anything about karma. And I just behaved any old way, whatever way where I got benefit, or where I thought I got benefit. And it's worldly benefit, not long-term benefit. So maybe I cheated people and I got rich, and I thought, oh, that's good. Yeah, look at me, I'm so clever. I can lie, I can cheat, I get more money. This is fantastic. Yeah. But then those karmic seeds from that lifetime when I did that are still on my mind. And, they haven't ripened. And if they ripen, I'm going to be in a really bad way. Yeah, horrible rebirth. Then even I have a good rebirth. Poverty, discrimination, illness. Yeah. So, I have to have compassion for Donnie, and I have to have compassion for the person I was who didn't know anything about karma. And I need to purify all of that. Yeah. So doing Vajrasattva practice repeatedly, yeah, every day is really important. Yeah. And then this is also the value of taking precepts. Because if you take precepts and stop doing some of these negative actions, then you don't have so much to purify. And when you die, your mind is at ease and peaceful. I think of Donnie's death, it's not going to be pleasant. His mind is really going to be in a lot of torment because they say, you know, when you die, that the karma is starting to ripen, and you get some indication of where you're going to be reborn. So how many times in the past did I get reborn in horrible lives because I had, done those non-virtuous actions and then hadn't purified them. Okay? So, yeah, Dharma is very applicable to our life. It's not fancy theory. It's, something to really take to heart and to live. Yeah? Okay, so, not harming, being of benefit, yeah? There's another very important thing to do all day. Increase our bodhicitta. Remember our bodhicitta. So our bodhicitta, remember, is the aspiration to attain full awakening for the benefit of all beings. And we want to really imprint that in our mind again and again and again. And even though our bodhicitta now might be contrived because we have to sit and think about it, and because generating bodhicitta means that you have to do something with your anger. Because if we leave even one sentient being out of our compassion, out of our bodhicitta, we cannot attain awakening. Because bodhicitta is for all sentient beings. It's not for all sentient beings except the people I hate. It's for everyone. That means I have to do something about my anger and my grudges. Yeah? Because if I said, oh yes, I want to have bodhicitta for all living beings, especially all of those who are nice to me. Yeah, and okay, the strangers, they don't harm me, I can squeeze them in. But the people who harm me, who do things I don't like, who harm the people I care for, oh, may they burn in hell. Yeah, we're real nice, aren't we? Yeah. What do you say when you're mad at somebody? Go to hell. Yeah, isn't that? Do you people say that? Or is it only Americans that say that? Hello? Yeah, do you say that when you're mad? I see 2 people who are honest. The rest of you, you remember I talked about those people who are nice in front of the teacher? And then as soon as they leave the room, they're nasty to everybody else. Yeah, how many, let's try that again. How many of you swear and curse at somebody when you're mad? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, you see many people do it. Why are you afraid of admitting it? I mean, we're friends, aren't we? Am I going to look at you? You curse at somebody when you're mad. Oh, how dare you, you jerk, you idiot, burn in hell. You think I'm going to say that? Do you think anybody here is going to say that if you admit your harsh speech? Nobody here is going to do that. Yeah, we need to learn to be transparent and not hide and not create a face. Yeah, not try and convince people that we are different than we are. Okay, and to try and improve. So then we don't have so many faults to be transparent about. Yeah. At the monastery, Shavasti Abbey, where I live, we really emphasize this whole thing of being transparent, of not hiding, not concealing. You know, and for monastics, it's especially serious, you know, because every 2 weeks we do confession and restoration of our precepts. And if you've broken something and you conceal it, it's not good. You have to admit it, okay? So, I'll tell you a good story about what happened, you know, because of people in our community learning to be transparent. So there was one time when one of the nuns, you know how everybody gets in a bad mood from time to time? So she had been in a really bad mood for a couple of weeks. And we were having a meeting, yeah, to check in how everybody was doing. And I was thinking before that meeting, oh boy, everybody's gonna say, you know, so-and-so said this nasty thing to me and it hurt me, and then somebody else, yeah, the same person kind of said something nasty to me and that hurt my feelings. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be a great meeting, huh? Well, what happened is this one nun started out, and she spoke first, and she said, the last couple of weeks I've been in a really bad mood, angry mood, and I think some of you have been the victim of my anger, and I want to apologize for that. I'm really trying to work on it and calm my mind. Yeah, she said that. It took, what, between 30 seconds and 40 seconds to say that? Well, as a result, nobody else during the meeting said, yeah, you spoke harshly to me. Nobody else had to, because she owned it. Yeah, and there was no reason for her to hide it because we all knew. Yeah. So especially when you live with people, they know your faults. They know your buttons. You might as well admit it. Yeah. It makes things so much more peaceful when we do, rather than, no, I didn't do that, you don't understand, what you're saying is okay, but blah, 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 blah. You know, okay. You just say, yeah, my mind was out of control and I spoke harshly. Yeah. And you feel okay saying that because everybody's mind, except, you know, the Buddhas and the Arhats and the Bodhisattvas, you know, their mind doesn't get out of control, but they're not going to criticize you if your mind gets out of control. But for everybody else, they've done the same thing. So you're just admitting that you're like everybody else. Big deal. Yeah, and then you go back and you do Vajrasattva and you keep purifying. Okay? Yeah, much easier that way. Okay, so we have a few minutes for questions if you have something. Yes. Okay, wait for the mic.
Thank you. Thank you. Venerable, in a case that if you say something harsh to someone and you regretted it and you apologize to that person, and maybe in a fit of anger for that person, he or she doesn't accept your apology, but you regretted what you have said, and you keep apologizing to that person, but still,
Yeah.
they. So how?
Okay. The important thing is that we apologize. Our owning and being responsible for our own behavior is our thing. Whether they accept the apology or not is their thing. We can't force them. Yeah, can you force anybody to think something different than they think? No. All you can do is apologize. If they're still holding on to anger, that's their thing. You've done your part. So be kind to the other person in the future. You know, don't give them nasty looks. And then, you know, at some point, maybe their minds will change and they'll come around. But you have kept the door open. Yeah, so that if they come around later and say, you know, when you apologized to me, I was still angry at you, and so now I apologize to you, then you can say, thank you, and I'm really glad that we're friends again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Venerable. In relation to mindfulness, how could you help to elaborate a little bit about the antidotes to the afflictions?
Oh, the antidotes to the
Yeah.
afflictions. Okay. Which one of my books is that in? Well, Open Heart, Clear Mind, maybe? Or especially with regards to anger. Anger and jealousy are covered in Working with Anger. Okay? Basically, for attachment, yeah, think about how the thing that you're craving is impermanent. It's going to change. You know, I told you about the example of the nun saying, this cup is already broken. So whatever possession you're craving or attached to, even though you own it, it's going to break. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Proved what I was saying. Then, you know, that everything that comes together is going to separate. So, you know, at some point or another, even the people you care about the most, you're going to separate. Yeah, not because you don't care about each other, but because that's what happens to everything. Okay? With respect to anger, it's, another thing about craving is imagine that you get what you're craving. You want $1 million. All of a sudden, some relative you didn't even know leaves you $1 million. This is not going to happen. But you can imagine, you know, and, oh, now I have $1 million. Yeah, oh, now I got what I want. But then ask yourself, am I going to be forever happy because of this? Yeah, you got $1 million. Are you going to be forever happy? Yeah. Remember when I was talking about you get the new car you want and now you're going to have car hell? Yeah, you get the new phone, now you're going to have phone hell. You get $1 million, now you're going to have money hell. Because all of a sudden, a lot of relatives you don't know are going to show up and they need a loan. Yeah, or you have to pay taxes on the money, and by the time you get done with the taxes, you have $100 left. You know, Or you say, oh, I'm going to blow the wad. So you go to, you go to Las Vegas because you have $1 million. You spend it. You go to Vegas. You're there one night, you're broke again. Yeah. So then you got to find a way to get back to Singapore because you gambled away all your return flight money. Okay. So, think about that whatever I get, it's not going to make me forever happy. Yeah. For jealousy, the antidote is rejoicing in the other person's opportunity, in their possessions, in their merit, whatever it is you're jealous of, rejoice that the other person has it. Okay? So, like I said, you break up with your partner, now, somebody else can pick up their dirty laundry. Somebody else can take out their garbage. Yeah? There's no reason to be jealous of the other person. Yeah? What's the use of being jealous? You don't get anything out of it, and it's so painful to be jealous. Okay? Out of arrogance, when the antidote to arrogance is they say to think about the 5 aggregates, the 12 sources, the 18 constituents. And you say, what are those? Well, that's the point, why you think about them, because you don't understand them at all. You don't even know what they are. Okay? Another way to handle arrogance is to recognize that everything we have, everything we know, every talent or ability we have came from somebody else. It's not our own possession. Whatever we feel arrogant about, we were not born with that. Yeah? We were not born with that. Other people taught us. Other people encouraged us. Other people gave us opportunities. Okay, so there's nothing that's uniquely me and mine to stick my nose in the air about and think I'm so great. Okay, so that gives you a start on that. Okay, so let's do the Vajrasattva practice.
Venerable, sorry, last question here.
Okay.
Thanks, Venerable, for your time. I just wanted to ask, how do I increase truthfulness to self? So, for example...
If you what? Can you talk right in?
So how do you increase truthfulness to self? So, for example, when there's ill will, and I tell myself, okay, I'm going to let go of the ill will, and I don't have ill will anymore, but physiologically you know that you can tell that you are still hanging on to it. Yeah. So the lack of truthfulness or ability to, that's a bit...
Okay. Yeah, so we can notice our afflictions, but telling ourselves I shouldn't feel that doesn't get rid of it. Okay? So this relates to her question. We have to learn the antidotes for the afflictions. And we have to think about the antidotes in our meditation and recall situations from the past where we felt that way, and then practicing, that imagining that situation again and applying the antidote. In other words, viewing the situation from a different perspective. So you need to do that repeatedly, because our old habits are very strong. We just fall back on them. But we need to create a new habit of looking at the situation differently. Okay? So, with anger or with jealousy, oh, I'm jealous right now. Oh, well, yeah, I got jealous, last week, last year, 10 years ago, a lot. Well, pick out one of those situations and then imagine it and then think, okay, now I'm just going to be happy at that other person's opportunity. Yeah, I'm happy that they have that quality. I'm happy that they got that. Yeah, why not be happy? Yeah, Chinese New Year, what are you saying? May everybody be well and happy. Then here's somebody who's happy and you didn't even have to do anything. So rejoice. Yeah, rejoice. Okay, so take out, notice it's very good to pick out the affliction that gives us the most trouble, that's the strongest, and really work on that in our meditation, and learn these antidotes and then apply them in our meditation. So we have some practice. And then by applying it over and over and over again, then when a situation arises, it's much easier to shift the mind. Okay? Okay. So Vajrasattva is calling. Yeah, didn't you feel the vibration in your phone? Vajrasattva is calling. So I think we better do the Vajrasattva practice. And if there's time at the end, we can do more questions. Okay. Oh, Vajrasattva disappeared. This is the same thing. See? The computer has a mind of its own. I left it in this place, and it isn't there now. Okay, let's start all over again. Let's start this. Try this. That's not working.
You also have the printed version if you want to use it.
What? No, it's easier for me to use
the
this.
Pearl of Wisdom?
I want what I had yesterday, or Pearl of Wisdom. I thought it was.
I think it's called you. I think it was on your OneDrive actually.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I get to OneDrive?
The cloud at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this thing.
okay. Can I do? So it's under deities. This is not alphabetized. Can't I do a search?
These.
Okay. Hooray. Also, when we do the motivation, the taking refuge, here it says enlightenment. I've changed it to awakening. Yeah, those are two different translations, but they have the same meaning. Yeah. Okay, so let's come back to our breath. Let the mind relax. Yeah, feel yourself sitting here. Bring your mind to where your body is. And above the crown of your head, there's an open white lotus, and on that is a flat moon disk. So they're all the whole visualization is made of light. And on that beautiful white lotus and moon disk sits Vajrasattva. His body is made of white light. He's adorned with beautiful ornaments and clothes of celestial silk. His hands are crossed at his heart, the left hand closer in, the right hand on top of that. His right hand holds a vajra, his left hand holds a bell. At his heart, inside of his body, is a flat moon disk. And on top of that is the seed syllable hum at the center. And the letters of the Vajrasattva's 100-syllable mantra stand clockwise around the edge of the moon disk. And then we'll take refuge and generate bodhicitta. I take refuge in the three jewels. I will liberate all sentient beings and lead them to awakening. Thus, I perfectly generate the mind dedicated to attain awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge in the three jewels. I will liberate all sentient beings and lead them to awakening. Thus, I perfectly generate the mind dedicated to attaining awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge in the three jewels. I will liberate all sentient beings and lead them to awakening. Thus, I perfectly generate the mind dedicated to attaining awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the one of the four powers for purification, the power of reliance. So by taking refuge, we restore our relationship with the three jewels and the holy beings. By generating bodhicitta, we restore our relationship and change our attitude towards other sentient beings. Okay, now spend some time reviewing the actions that you've done that you regret. Actions that broke precepts, actions that were counter to your own values. So any harmful verbal or mental actions you've done, think about them and have regret for them. And think of how you could handle those situations differently if something similar arose in the future. So generate deep regret for having done those actions and have a strong wish to be free from the suffering results that come through having done them, that you could experience. And also have a determination to avoid causing harm to others and yourself in the future. So generate that kind of regret. And seeing Vajrasattva as a combination of the wisdom and compassion of all the Buddhas, and as your own wisdom and compassion in fully developed form, then let's make this request to Vajrasattva. O Bhagawan Vajrasattva, please clear away all negative karma and obscurations of myself and all living beings, and purify all degenerated and broken commitments. So Vajrasattva accepts our requests, and from the syllable hum at his heart, light radiates in all the directions, requesting the Buddhas to bestow their blessings. The Buddhas accept the request, and they send very brilliant white rays of light and white nectar, the essence of which is the qualities, the knowledge of their body, speech, and mind. That light and nectar absorb into the letter hum and the letters of the mantra at Vajrasattva's heart. And then the light and nectar fill his entire body completely, enhancing his magnificence and his ability to help us purify. And when we recite the mantra, think that the white rays of light and nectar stream down continuously from the hum and mantra at Vajrasattva's heart. They flow through the crown of your head and fill every cell of your body and mind with infinite bliss. So really imagine your whole body, mind filled with great bliss, with the qualities of the enlightened ones, and that all the heaviness in your mind, all the obscurations, all the negative self-talk is completely dispelled and doesn't exist anywhere anymore. So focus on the visualization of that. And then we'll recite the mantra out loud together 7 times, and then after that, recite it more silently or in a whisper voice. So keep as much as you can, keep the visualization plus the mantra going at the same time. If you can't do that, then you can favor one or the other while the other one goes more in the background. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra me Mutsa Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho One Sarva Tathagata Vajra me Mutsa Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho One Sarva Tathagata Vajra me Mutsa Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra me Mutsa Vajra Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra me Mutsa Vajra Samaya Sattva Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatita Dida me bhava Siddhakaya me bhava Supakaya me bhava Anurata me bhava Sarva Siddhi me Paryasa Sarva Karma Siddha me Siddhan Shriyankang Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Tathagata Vajramame Muta Vajrabhuma Samaya Sattva Om Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Janupatita Tita Mebhawa Sujakaya Mebhawa Supakaya Mebhawa Anurata Mebhawa Sarvasati Memvaryatsa Sarvakama Susame Sita Shankang Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarvatathagata Vajramame Muta Vajrabhuma Samaya Sattva Om Pe. So now do the mantra silently. And so now we sincerely do the power of determination, and we address Vajrasattva. Through ignorance and delusion, I have broken and degenerated my commitments. O spiritual master, be my protector, refuge. Lord Vajra, endowed with great compassion, in you, the foremost of beings, I take refuge. Then I ask to do the instructions again in the future. Okay, so really feel what you said. So Vajrasattva is extremely pleased and replies, "My spiritual child of the essence, all your negativities, obscurations, and degenerated vows and commitments have now been completely purified." And with delight, Vajrasattva melts into light and dissolves into you through the crown of your head, so that his light and nectar completely fill your body again, and your body, speech, and mind become inseparable from Vajrasattva's holy body, speech, and mind. So concentrate on this. And then let's dedicate the merit. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Vajrasattva, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhima not yet born arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I just want to, before we conclude, briefly go through the different visualizations you can do while reciting the mantra. So they're written on the text that you have attached to your hand. So there's the purification of the body. So your afflictions and negativities in general, particularly those actions that you've done physically, take the form of blank ink. Sickness takes the form of pus and blood, and afflictions caused by spirits appear in the form of scorpions, snakes, frogs, and crabs. Yuck. Flushed out by the light and nectar, they all leave your body through the lower openings like filthy liquid flowing from a drain pipe. Feel completely empty of these problems and negativities. They no longer exist anywhere. So when you do this, the light and nectar comes in through your head, fills you up. Yeah, your body's filled with light and nectar. You don't visualize the pus and blood and frogs and scorpions inside your body. But when the light and nectar fills your body, it pushes out the negativities, and as they come out, they're in the form of all these yucky things. Okay? Then, so with these different purifications, You can do one all session, or you can alternate them. It's completely up to you. Okay, then purification of speech, your afflictions and imprints of negative karma of speech take the form of liquid tar. The light and nectar fill your body from Vajrasattva like water fills a dirty glass. So the negativities, like the dirt, arise to the top and then flow out through the upper openings, through your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears. Okay? And that way you feel completely empty. You've purified all those verbal non-virtues. Okay? Then the purification of mind. This is kind of the one we've been doing. Your afflictions and imprints of mental negativities appear as darkness at your heart. You know, like when you feel really down, it feels dark here. But when the light and nectar come in, it completely vanishes. It destroys the darkness, any heaviness at your heart. It's like turning on a light, and the darkness doesn't go anywhere. It simply vanishes. Okay? And so then you concentrate on being your body, your mental negativities having disappeared, and you're filled with the light and nectar. Yeah, and then the simultaneous purification is you do all three of those at the same time. And when you do that, you think that it purifies the subtle obscurations that prevent us from attaining full awakening and from having omniscient mind. Okay? So you can kind of do the different things. Some days you feel more like doing one visualization, some days another. Some days, you do part of each one or part of two of them in one session. You can just see what really fits what's going on with you. Okay? So we have one last question, and this is really the last one. Maybe. No, it is the last. We have to end. Yeah.
Yes. Venerable, regards to the 10 non-virtuous behavior, it seems to me it's very closely related to the 5 precepts. I just wonder, it didn't include like taking intoxicants?
If what?
Not taking intoxicant.
Yeah. Taking intoxicants is one of the 5 precepts. It is not something that is naturally negative. Naturally negative means that almost anybody who does it must be having a negative mental state. So taking intoxicants is not naturally negative, but the reason it's one of the 5 precepts is because when you take intoxicants, then it's very easy to do harmful actions. Okay? So I think good to purify taking intoxicants too, whether or not you have the precept. Yeah. Because intoxicants can lead us to make really big messes in our life. Okay. Good. So with that, it's been a wonderful retreat, sharing the retreat with you. And I really encourage you all to continue the practice. Don't go home and delete this from your phone or print it out and then put it on the highest shelf you can find. But really, you've spent the weekend doing something good. Go home, continue it. Yeah? And you can make the session as long or as short as you want. But do something every day. It makes a huge difference in your life if you do. Okay? And take some time every day to read a little bit of Dharma. You don't have to read a whole book. Sometimes it's good. You just read like a few paragraphs or a couple of pages, and you sit and you think about that. And the next day, you read another few paragraphs and think about that. So in this way, you learn and you give yourself time to really think about and absorb it. And then if questions come up, discuss with your friends, ask your teachers, look online. If you go to my website or other websites, and do a search, you can usually find a talk or a transcript or something that will answer your question. Okay?
Thank you very much, Venerable, for your precious teachings. Brothers and sisters, we believe that you have benefited from these 2 days retreat. Venerable, today's teaching will be the last for 2024, but we will start the beginning of 2025 with Venerable's teaching again at Pukasi. That will be on the 4th and the 5th of January. And for these 2 teachings, you have to register with Pukasi at their website. And if you would like to receive money pills, Venerable will be sitting over here for a while. Please do not request for any individual photograph with Venerable, as time is limited. Instead of everybody bowing to Venerable individually when making offerings, let's offer 3 bows to Venerable together now.